Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advancement Center and welcome to the world of magic and miracles, where we are gathered once again on our ever-expanding elevated platform of living, which spans every time zone and beyond, and was magically constructed by Robert and Simeon. I call out to everyone as family. By now, you must realize the importance of your presence as the charter members of this emerging industry of magic and miracles. And as charter members with firsthand information, we cannot help but be the bearer of good news and good times that are coming via Swisindo and now on October 13th, the greatest show on earth. But we'll talk about that later, okay? As promised, and I've been thanked for this, people are really appreciating the weekly update of Swisindo because you can't hear this enough. It almost sounds too good to be true, but let me tell you, it's true. First of all, please remember that Swisindo is the original UN. President Sukarno of Indonesia began the Swisindo, UN Swisindo, in 1945 after World War II. Okay, here comes the weekly update, which is Swisindo is the clear route out of debt slavery system that has been foisted upon us for much too long. Now, I know most of you know all this information because I tell it to you every week and have been telling you the good news. But there are new people on the broadcast today. So welcome. Now, first, I want to tell you that I recommend checking out two websites, Swisindo News, where you will download your M1 voucher, which looks like, if I find it, I think this is it. Yeah, here it is. You're going to download this voucher. You're going to put your picture in the lower right corner with your thumbprint. Do not sign it and hold on to it. And I will tell you when you can take it to the bank because there's good news coming. And if you scroll down a little bit further on Swisindo News, you'll come to the Debt Burden Liberation Certificate. That looks like this. Now, debt burden, what does that mean? They're really going to pay all my debts? Debts that you have accrued your whole lifetime up until 2016. That means college that you're still paying off, a mortgage you're still paying off. Maybe you have some car payments. Now, listen, the day you were born, your birth certificate is more than something your mother put in your scrapbook. Your birth certificate has been traded on and had money borrowed on since the day you were born. Then you go to the bank and you take out a loan and you're expected to pay it back with interest. That was your money that they took. So M1, who is the head of Swisindo, wants to relieve you of all that debt. So when the time is right and the banks wake up, you can take that, which I just showed you, to the bank, and they will forgive all your debts. That's not a fairy tale. That's amazing. And it's true. The time has just not come yet, but it is coming. Now, when you go to swissindo.net, which is also called the wiki, that's there for all the history of Swissindo for you to read, digest, share, and understand. And understand that every man, woman, child will have his basic needs taken care of on this planet. This is the human obligation that M1, the head of Swissindo, has promised. And what has he promised? I'm reading this and I can't, wow, $6 million per person, which boils down to a $1,200 check into your account that you have taken out with your M1 voucher of $1,200 put in there every month for the rest of your life. And all school-age children up to the age of 17 will receive $600 a month until they reach, what would that be? Oh, 17. After 17, you get $1,200 as well. So that's pretty darn good. Now, this is God's mission, known as a mandate to free and unite 7.5 billion people through something they call the Payment Order 1 through 11. And I will go through these quickly because we have so much to share today. Payment Order 1 through 11 to all 357 countries. It will support the governments of the world in the implementation of individual debt burden liberation, which we just spoke about, corporate debt burden liberation up to the amount of $2 billion, a country quota supporting countries, and they have it spelled out because I can't read all these zeros, 138 trillion 990 billion for each country. And believe it or not, every bank gets a quota of 138 trillion 990 billion. The last on this Project 1 to 11 is called the Venus Project. And this is for the construction of the universe. Mr. Jacques Fresco is the mastermind of this magnificent project, which represents the culmination of his life's work, the integration of the best of science and technology within a comprehensive plan for a global society based on human and environmental concern, and this will soon be ours to enjoy. So this is called the Venus Project, collectively known as the World Solution Gift Offer for the highest good of all. Now, I mentioned that M1 is the grandson of President Sukarno. Maybe some of you remember his name. He was the president of Indonesia, and he began Swissindo way before the UN. Okay? It might shock a few of you to know that the UN no longer has control of funds. It's been taken away from them. Okay? Because in January 18th of 2018, M1 delivered a mandate to UN Secretary General. And he said, the world is currently in a state of disarray, upheaval, and unrest due to a history of corruption and deceit. We will end the corrupt world debt slavery system and restore abundance to all 7.5 billion humans in every country of the world. Wow. He not only says those words, but he can deliver them. All right. Which is why, I'll get to that later. And on March, I agree. On March 12, 2018, invited to accept only World Economic Solution was President Trump. M1 as holder of all world assets and collateral and owner, commander, and comptroller of the Indonesian nation's currency has offered President Trump an opportunity to give back human rights, equal justice, and sovereignty to all people to solve the challenges of the United States of America and the world. Now, DBLC, do you remember what that means? Debt Burden Liberation Certificate. He is presenting that to the U.S., and it will be paid in full by Swisindo. And a mandate to print global currency, all gold backed. Remember that? Everybody talks about it, but no one's been doing too much about it. Okay. Things are not getting worse. They're getting uncovered. We must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil and see each other as they truly are. Papers are flying. Yeah, there was just a media release, just to give you a little bit more Swisindo news. The media release for immediate release of UN Swisindo owner of World Bank Group. That's M1. He has been investigated on false charges in Indonesia since August 8th, 2018. And believe it or not, all the extensive government and political corruption is now coming to the surface. And letters have been pouring in from all over the world because Swisindo has been the best kept secret for many, many years. You ask people, have you ever heard of Swisindo? And they'll say, no. Have you ever heard of the UN? Oh, yes, I visited there. Oh, yeah, I know that. All right. Well, here's one of those letters that went in, and it came from the Advancement Center. And we wrote, Dear Mr. Sino, with a great big long name, we note that action has been taken to cease the mandated process of UN Swisindo's humanitarian efforts. The Advancement Center and Robert Young have brought forth the original vision that we are all radiant beings in harmony with the overwhelming desires of each and every person. The UN Swisindo mandate of bringing a balance to the financial needs of all society is in total agreement with the policies of the Advancement Center. Our purpose is to advance humanity in all areas, including finance, human resources, energy systems, and many more. Our numerous associates throughout the world join with us in encouraging the continuation of the UN Swisindo Payment 1 through 11 programs. We trust the appropriate authorities will address and correct the present situation in our name. Yours sincerely, Barbara Whiting, Managing Director, of which I am very proud. And there's our letterhead. You're all invited to join and send a letter. You can send it to me and I'll forward it, or any way you want to do it. But your voice is important. And there's more on this media release, which is voluminous. Yeah, here's a big one. The reports of extensive government and political corruption within the World Bank of over $70 trillion has been missing since 1961. And it's been under the management of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development and the International Development Association. This has been looked at by M1, and he has found it deceptive and no clarification of truth and must be changed. And he's done just that, which is probably why he's being detained in prison, because he is gumming up the works of all those people who were on the gravy train with that easy money. And one of the things that just horrified me was the purpose of the IBR, I hate those acronyms, the International Bank for Reconstruction Development, is to lend governments of middle income and creditworthy and plus low income countries loans. So a country that has money, they are expected to loan the poor country money, and they expect it to be paid back with interest. Now, what happens when that country doesn't have the money to pay it back? How could they? Well, the donor country says, all right, I'll take land. And that's what's known as land grabbing. It has happened in Africa, it has happened in Indonesia, and many other places. And it's interesting because Susan, our Secretary General of our ministry, said, thank you for explicating and clarifying that. It is similar to what the Rothschilds did in the past to fund wars. They funded both sides and only expected payment back in gold with interest. So, isn't it wonderful? I mean, what happened was horrendous, but isn't it clarifying and wonderful to finally hear the truth? It's not on Fox News. Now, by the way, even though he is in prison, his spirits are high and very, very positive. In fact, he sent this message to all us delegates, and I'm going to read it. I convey you, official delegates of the world. Do not draw back, not even an inch. Never run away from this noble task. Do not fear of the bullying cowards, because in your blood flows the blood of pure knights, with a K. Let the bullets face you, let the swords wield you, let all the power come and try to knock you down. forbid yourself from retreating, even for an inch. Hence, on your shoulders, I leave my mandate and all my hope. And I wish to see you looking mighty dashing, engraving this country's name in all the remote corners of the earth as Mother Earth, grown, and then the name of an Indonesia flower, Wijaya Kusama, a flower. Signed, M1. There are many, many ministries in Swisindo. And if you're interested in joining us, there'll be a ministry that fits your gifts, your talents, and what you would like to do. But I'm with the Health and Well-Being Ministry. And I'm so proud to say that we will no longer support the ineffective recipe for treating symptoms and administering drugs and surgery as the primary protocol for curative disease therapies. Instead, we will lift the shackles from the global natural healing communities, allowing them to reach their highest potential and fullest expression of healing humanity, thus creating the necessary encouragement to ensure natural health care professionals are given the right to fully practice without fear of being imprisoned or eradicated. Ultimately, we are restoring the credibility this wellness community deserves. Now, re-examining and evaluating the true worthiness of current allopathic sciences and methodologies, chemotherapy, radiation, prescription drugs, vaccines, fluoride, without fear of being imprisoned or annihilated, mandating that all medical schools instruct a minimum requirement of 8 courses of nutrition and dietary health and plant medicine, rescuing and compiling all traditional health remedies and lost practices from indigenous peoples' culture worldwide, educating and allowing current day use of these remedies, reuniting these remedies with participating indigenous cultures and sharing with the world. Can you imagine my thrill when Lori requested joining Swisindo? Lori has a magnificent background of Aboriginal healing practices, and our present members in our ministry, living in Belize and called Forgotten Foods, they put together herbal remedies with the help of another member of our ministry who is a scientist. What an amazing feeling to know that we are doing what I have always known to be true. Help others, bring peace to the world, and become so much more. This is not a teaching. It is you who have come from your origin, bringing your gifts to the world of magic and miracles, established and maintained by each and every one of you. Robert wrote the following on August 9th. It is possible to change the direction of life with a few words at the right time. And it is possible to stop all progress with the same words at the wrong time. This is something that is unique in the physical world and totally out of tune with the flow of the universe. The ability to generate purpose and excitement in life has been offset by the ability to oppose and cause disruption whenever suitable. To surpass this seemingly impossible situation is the desire of the majority, but the environment in which we operate continues to educate each one of us in the art of agreement and opposition in all walks of life. There is, however, a solution to everything in the world of your Creator. And it is this solid fact that allows us to say the world has changed, and it will soon be obvious to everyone. The desire of the majority has been heard, and all necessary changes in the power and vibration of the medium in which we live have been completed in real terms. It is impossible to maintain opposition without the situation changing into one that is suitable to all. The need for agreement or opposition is disappearing before our eyes. And the aggressive skills which previously drove our lives are now almost useless. As our awareness grows to match our advanced intelligence, we will see past the formula that has been put in place in our immense societies. And we will simply move in such a way that we cannot be seen by those who are looking to control our lives. Where there is no agreement or opposition, there is no return signal to feed the mechanisms of control and fear that are in place in the world. Each person is in control of their own world, and the changes in the physical world will greatly assist in maintaining this even under adverse conditions. And one of those adverse conditions is one's personal reception center. Yeah. It's been very helpful for me to know this, myself and others. Everyone has a personal reception room. This is where your mini yous acting on your behalf receive incoming information and immediately apply the appropriate stamp of approval or disapproval, mostly disapproval, because of years of training. The stamps are clearly marked: ridiculous, outlandish, outdated, too far out, and most of the time the new idea is just tossed away in the trash bin. You might ask, how can there be any new information entering your field to experience if your reception room has a very small window of acceptance, or even a brief glimpse of a possibility of something other than what you are so familiar with? Protection from anything new? Obedience to a set of rules set by that little policeman who watched your intake since childhood? Or perhaps it is the lazy man's way of keeping everything low-key and at the status quo. What a perfect climate in which to take charge of a whole population of people satisfied with the status quo and repelling all progress or improvement via becoming conscious of a never spoken truth. We are now past the point of acceptance of the existence of magic and miracles. And as such, we are in a position to exercise our magic in a real way. In the initial school of magic, there is one outstanding reality that makes magic possible, And that is, there are no rules, there are no methods, and everything works every time. Have you noticed how many people selling you rules and methods? To take this into your physical reality, you must apply it to everything all the time. And this includes your assessment of other people's actions and interactions. If you are determined to live a life of magic and miracles, then you must accept that nothing is wrong, because there is a miracle for every situation and a multitude of unique outcomes that can never be repeated. This is a big step for your conscious awareness, and it is evident that it will be out of tune with what you know as part of your natural operating system. Your natural operating system has been induced as part of the awareness of the human entity, and once it changes, all associated parts of the physical reality will change with it. Remember, Robert just said, it is possible to change the direction of life with a few words at the right time. And the right time came, and the words were heard, and it became the greatest show on earth. Okay, October 13th. It's going to happen right here in Santa Barbara. And it's all going to be magical. So stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted. But what I can tell you now is that the four of us, Robert, David, Genya, and I, visited the theater. And I fell in love with this theater, which I see as magical. It's in a junior high. And it all happened because some mothers got together and wanted to raise some money for projectors so their children would have a fuller experience. And then someone else, I think you might know him from ER, a Gunsmoke, a celebrity, said, let's do this. And they raised $4 million from a few mothers getting together who wanted to buy a projector. So that $4 million has resulted in a most charming, intimate, beautiful 800-seat theater. And when we were there on Thursday, the manager took us on an extensive tour, and it has every wonderful addition you could imagine and more. So it enables miracles and magic to happen. Our advanced intelligence recognizes this. Your advanced intelligence brought you here. Every day, I write in my journal to be read maybe someday. I address the last part as, Dearest Simeon, I look forward to your words. And the other day, he said, and I wrote, euphoria is your word for today. And I looked it up, and it means feeling of intense excitement and happiness. And he wrote, that is your natural state. Protect it and do not let anyone in to interrupt it. This is important. Love, Simeon. And a little bit about Simeon. He just doesn't sit on my left shoulder. He's available to each and every one of you. He is our friend. And he's our friend who has told me on many occasions, you are the authority in your own world of magic and miracles, which is true for all of us. And then he says, remain as an individual with your own world where you have brought your gifts. And then he said, pledge allegiance to yourself. The Swisindo story is a very good story. Let's say that we fired all the policemen and starchy receptionists in our personal reception center who accept nothing new. Well, what happens next? Well, every man, woman, and child is taken care of monetarily, and all races for the almighty dollar are not as crucial as they once were. Your home is your castle. Your wardrobe is complete. Nothing is out of reach. You can now afford an occupation that is rewarding at whatever level suits you. You have purchased rupiah, which we have done, and I recommend it. That's the Indonesian currency. And it is now going to be, in the future, and it is now on par with the US dollar. And there is no lack. What do you want is the question. Time for music, creativity, in the studio, kitchen, garden, and then what do you crave? True friends who see you. Those gifts that you brought in with you, but you were having to make ends meet, remember? What are those gifts you have had for the world? Do you remember? Is it easier to notice special qualities in your children's freedom? Education can become experiential and no more mad dash to get into a top school in order to get a top-paying job. And Robert said, maintain the flow in all areas of life and beyond, and there will be an explosion of reality that has never been experienced before. The extensive capabilities of the human species will suddenly appear as the major focus in every person's life, and the intense cooperation in developing conditions that enhance one another will bring new life to the industry of magic and miracles. I just threw something away I need. Yeah. Now that all the money stress has ended, here is a beautiful prescription from David Best. It's called Let Life Live. Life wants to play with you. It wants to be your friend. It wants to live it in all its fullness with joy and happiness. If you gave life a name and thought of it as a person, it would be the friend who is always upbeat and positive, always smiling and looking forward to the next thing. He or she would say to you, don't build the next moment with me upon the energy of a moment we had yesterday. Be it a so-called positive or negative moment, matters not. Both exist in the past and are no longer a factor in our time together today. Life would say, I am always new. It is the only way I can operate. Nothing can be built or stored or saved and then added to me. I can only see you as a clean slate of infinite possibilities because that is who I am. Don't try and create your life around the corrections or expectations of our time together. That is a hamster wheel you don't want to ride on. Instead, let go of all that we experienced in each past moment, just as a child does. You know that they are the example of how to be with me, and you are still that child yourself. You've just added on layers of self doubt, programming, of fitting in, and self analysis. We had so much fun together when you were a child, but now I feel your resistance to me and your internal fight with life itself. Return back to that little child who loved spending the day with me, but then forget what we did together so that the next day was completely new. We let life and our spirit and heart lead the way to the infinite possibilities that each moment would bring. And we were free. It's a brand new day. So let life live. Love, David. Spend a whole day with life, your new best friend. Stay there a while with me and see the magic that just might appear. And this next piece by David carried me even further. In the blink of an eye. I am not saying anything that you have not heard before, nothing that you don't already know. There is nothing to learn, only to remember. You have all wisdom and light inside of you. If I have jogged your memory, then you will begin to feel your infinite majesty and brilliance. The feeling we are sharing right now in that dimension behind the veil is our true nature. There we sit at the right hand of the Creator and are one with everything, yet uniquely our individual self. That magnificent being that has never been born and who can never die, who knows everything and everyone and is beyond all knowledge and learning, who in the blink of an eye can know everything that ever was and ever will be, until the next blink of the eye when everything will change and become new again. Yes, there you are, transmitting the light of the bright morning star. Love, David. Where did you go? Sharing these words with you is a joy for me. Last week, David's folks were here, and I got to know David's mother through her poetry. I recorded her poetry and scanned her magnificent photography and realized that the dream I formed many decades ago when I took an oral interpretation course with Mrs. Baker at the University of Washington in Seattle has come true. And that is to give sound to a person's heart. What is that dream you have stored away? Perhaps as we regain our freedom of expression, we not only recognize that child we were, but we discover so much more when we listen, truly listen to another's dream. Genya carries us to our own inner music, and David lights our way with his musical words of being. Share you with us and watch the magic happen. Thank you for joining me today. We wish you perfect life, perfect health, and an extremely magical future. Thank you.